And you haven't brought it to the office?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not wearing that thing in public.
Dork.
Hello, and welcome back to Basic AF. Tom Anderson, joined by Jeff Battersby, as always. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Tom. What's cooking, man?
Well, we are mid-March.
Mid-March.
Spring is about to spring.
That's what they say.
Allergies will kick in. We'll all be a mess for a while, but days are getting longer.
As we record.
Yep.
Yes.
Days are getting longer, which I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I like it when it's like that. I feel like getting out of bed in the morning.
Right, and it's not pitch dark.
Oh my gosh, I am. I don't know. I think I'm a bear in real life. I just want to sleep all winter, and then I'm happy to get up in the hours when the summer comes around. But yeah. Before we kick off the show, let's put this at the top. You can email us at feedback@basicafshow.com. We like feedback, so feel free to do that. And in whatever podcast app you're using, but especially in Apple Podcasts, if you would please like or subscribe to us, because that does good things. We're seeing the numbers tick up, which is really great. We're really happy that more and more people are listening to us, and we're really grateful for the time that you're willing to spend with us. Our main show artwork, Randall Art Design. Randall does great work. Highly recommend that you have a look at Randall. And the show music is Psychokinetics. So have a listen. Go look at Psychokinetics and Celsius 7 somewhere on your favorite music streaming app. There we go. We've done all the ads at the beginning, and we've made
the ads.
A penny. Yeah, right. We're making a fortune. Can you hear the change jingling in my pocket?
Today's show brought to you by
nobody.
Right, us.
By Tom and Jeff, because we like you so much and we like each other.
Yes.
Well, not like that. We don't like each other like that.
Well, maybe. But anyhow, we do thank you for being here. We know it's time is limited, so we appreciate it. So
yeah, we do.
What are we talking about today, Jeff?
So, Tom, you know that I went and checked out the Vision Pro at the Danbury Apple Store, Danbury, Connecticut. Went and tried that on, had the big demo, and I told everybody that I wasn't going to get one, and I didn't. You did. Tom Anderson went out and bought himself a Vision Pro, and initially with the idea of the old 14-day trial, and I can take it back to the store. But Tom, did you take it back to the store?
I did.
You did?
To get the bands exchanged.
And then you came back home with it, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
YOLO, baby.
Yeah, pretty much. So when we did that hands-on show, where you that didn't sound right. Scratch that. When we talked about your hands-on experience with the Apple Vision Pro in Connecticut on release day, I think I said there we talked about that, like, would I get one? And I said I'd like to get one to try it out because I thought it was an intriguing device.
And you thought you might do it on the company dime, use one.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Nope.
It still may, but it hasn't yet. Part of that is we just recently ordered one for our AR/VR folks, but it was a bit of a process because Apple was setting up a system for that and everything, so it took a little while. But yeah, so I decided, well, my wife will tell you this is true. Like when I just think about a big purchase, it's like torture. Like I'd sit, well, maybe I should. Oh, that looks kind of nice. And I think she got to the point where she was just tired of hearing me talk about it. And she was like, just do it. You're going to do it. Just do it. I don't know why you do this to yourself. And I was like, hey, I'm a Virgo. That's what we do. And so I did. So yeah, if you go through the apps or the Apple store, not the App Store, the Apple retail store, shopping store for the app. Jesus.
Try one of those things.
Try one.
Pick a choice.
Pick one. Doesn't matter. The delivery dates were a month or so out. But you could check during the day, like usually mid-morning in the afternoon, and they restock at the local stores. And so that's what I did, is I just kind of kept an eye on it. And so I got the 512 gigabyte model.
Nice.
And it picked it up at the Reston store, the Reston, Virginia store.
Okay.
So,
and I believe you did not drive there, did you? Other than to get a new band, you had your wife pick it up for you, did you not?
Yeah, she was down that way. Yeah, so she picked it up. So I got it. I don't know, February. It was the week of the Super Bowl. So about a month ago.
And that was part of the plan, wasn't it, to watch the Super Bowl with the Vision Pro?
It was, and I did.
And
you know what? Having the game up on a screen the size of the living room wall and bedroom wall, whatever, man, that was massive. That was nice. That was good. I ended up watching it on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And they had some struggles with the feed quality. And so it got pixelated a little bit here and there. I think YouTube TV, people were saying it looked better, but I'm not subscribe to that. And I actually just did the trial for Paramount Plus. Like, I don't subscribe to that either, but I did that just to watch the game. So yeah, that was nice. And, of course, I think that's the big thing that, a lot of people talked about was the media playback capabilities, which is kind of true for all VR stuff. But I think with the Vision Pro, with those super high resolution displays that they've built into it, it was nice.
Yeah, I bet. And with regard to sports, when I took that demo, or when I looked at the demo, one of the things I thought was really impressive was the clips that they had of Major League softball. Soccer, I'm trying to think ahead, and Major League Baseball. So MLS, oh my God, Major League Softball. I mean, I'd watch that, but
that was good.
Yeah, well, Welcome to the Basic AF Show, where two idiots try to talk for 10 minutes straight. It was very impressed by that, and Apple has since announced that they're going to be. They've already got MLS set up to have that kind of super immersive programming. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think MLB and I think the NBA too going to be doing that kind of stuff. So courtside seats for most of us. But anyway, I don't want to talk about myself. I want you to talk about your experience with the Vision Pro. So go ahead. So you watched the Super Bowl game, and then
so that was the honeymoon period.
Oh,
right, because it was brand new and everything. Any particular order you would like to cover this?
I think your experience from end to end, what made you decide to keep the thing? You were really kind of dead set on, I'm going to take it back, when you got it. And obviously, I would say you were talking to both Gannon and me about this. And you, I would say within the first week, were like, not keeping it.
Right.
So what precipitated that decision? Because you were ready to, do 14 days and send it home. So what made you keep the dog?
Yeah. So that the first week was really, I think, just getting acclimated to having the thing on your head. Okay. Right. Because, and you can relate to this having done the demo. When you first put it on, it's a bit of sensory overload. Because it's right up on your face, of course, and then when you've got everything kind of showing there, the pass through, so you kind of you see your environment, and then the app icons and everything come up on top of that. And I think at least the first few days, I really just stuck to the native apps that were on it, and I installed a couple. Sorry about that. I hit a couple from the App Store, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, like this is all neat. And it looks great. And I think I mentioned that in the newsletter I put out a couple weeks ago, that I think most people, if not all people, when they do VR the first time are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And especially when you go into the fully immersive things, like some of the videos they have, like the Alicia Keys video, it was really good. The one with the lady doing the high line walking between the mountains and everything. That one freaked me out. I was like,
brilliant.
Whoa. Yeah. So I was like, Yeesh. And so all of that stuff is awesome. But the thing is, it's like, I'm not going to live in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, so that's fun for a little bit of time. And it is definitely like captivating when you're in those fully immersive scenes, especially those types of things. And I think where it started to shift a little bit for me and into the favor of keeping it was once I started to go into the App Store, into the iPad and iPhone compatible apps for the Vision Pro. So developers can make their iPad apps available on Vision Pro, or they can opt out, which some of the bigger media companies did, right? Spotify didn't do that. YouTube didn't do that. Netflix didn't do that. YouTube has said they are working on a native app, which I think is good. That'll be nice. But what that let me do is I was able to get 1Password installed. I was able to get some of the other apps that I use a lot installed. So I got the Bare Notes app installed. I got the Reddit app that I use, which is Narwhal 2. It was on there. And, those types of things. So My Node and so forth. That made it feel like a much more familiar device because those are things.
How so? Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So those apps I use a lot across all of my devices. So My Node, Bare Notes, or, I use those on iPad, Mac, not so much on the phone, but they're there. 1Password, of course, I use a lot just for, what it's intended for, just filling passwords on websites and things. But I think once those were on there, it's like, okay, I can actually do some things on it other than freak myself out watching that lady walk that line across the mountains. And so at that point, it was like, okay, now that I've got those on, let's see what I can actually do with it other than watch videos. Right. And so
So what could you do? So here's the thing that's a curiosity to me. And, I spend a great deal of my time writing. I could never see writing on that. But you're using Bare Notes and clearly must be doing some writing with Bare Notes. How does that work for you? How do you make it do something?
Yeah, so the virtual keyboard that is built into Vision OS is serviceable at best. Like if you just need to type in apple.com or a quick little reply to a message, you could do that. Of course, it's got Siri support, which actually
works.
It actually does work fairly well in the Vision Pro for some reason. I don't know if it's because of mic placement and it's so close to your face and everything, you can just hear better or what it is, but it has been pretty good. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't do that. I can't use that keyboard to really write much. And so I've got a Logitech MX Keys, which allows up to 3 devices to be connected. And then you just choose 1, 2, or 3, and it switches over. So I use that to go back and forth between my Mac Mini and my MacBook Pro. So I had an available slot. I'd used it a little bit with the iPad too. So, but it's easy to reprogram that. So I tried that, and that worked pretty well. And of course, you can pair a Magic trackpad with it, and I had one of those. And so I was doing that, and I was like, okay, now this is starting to feel better for doing more than just looking at stuff. And what's nice is when you pair those, they're immediately available. So like keyboard shortcuts, so command space for Spotlight still works. You get the little round cursor like you have on iPad OS shows up, and that goes between all of the windows that you've got open.
Your favorite cursor, by the way.
Yes. Which, to be honest, on Vision Pro, it looks better. Like it makes more sense to me for some reason. Like it doesn't stand out as much
as it does on an iPad.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where it started to click. And so at that point, I was like, well, this is nice, but it was hard to find a way to keep the trackpad next to the keyboard. And so I picked up the 12 South Magic Bridge, they call it, which is just basically a tray that the Apple Magic Keyboard and trackpad snap into. And that has been really nice because now they're in like it's a one-piece thing, fits comfortably on your lap. So if you're using this thing on the couch or propped up in bed or out on the front porch, whatever the case may be. And so that really kind of solidified the ability to do text input and mouse gestures and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Nice. So the gestures that you're used to using on your Mac, those work in Vision OS?
Not so much. And so this is where, there are a lot of shortcomings, I think, both in the hardware and in Vision OS. The hardware is obviously the physical components. It's heavy. Right. It is built really well, but it's heavy. On the software side of things, there's limited support for some of the keyboard stuff and the gestures. Like what it really needs is some window management of some sort, because it's easy to get windows behind windows because it's spatially oriented, right? Apple says spatial computing. And so you can stack windows up, I won't say definitely, but it's easy to get things kind of lost. And especially because you can roam around the house with this thing. And so you can have the big YouTube playing through a third-party app out in the living room. You come to the bedroom and you've got your notes app or messages or whatever. And then you're like, well, where's my video? And so it's still out in the other room.
Is there an easy way to bring that back into your current view or not yet?
There is. So if you press and hold the digital crown, it kind of recenters all of the windows into your current environment. So the room that you're in. Of course, it rearranges the layout of everything that's in that space too. So it's kind of the brute force way of doing it at this point. And so it's missing things like that. Like it needs like a expose type thing, mission control, right? Where you can swipe up, see all your windows. A command tab would be nice where you could just cycle through applications. Doesn't have that yet. And again, 1.0, I'm sure they're thinking about all those kinds of things. And I'm sure they've gotten a ton of feedback now that people actually have their hands on it.
Mm-hmm. So presently, you're using this on a regular basis. How many hours a day are you using it for actual practical work?
Actual practical work is fairly limited because, I go to the office 4 days a week.
And you haven't brought it to the office?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not wearing that thing in public.
Dork.
I am, yeah, but not that much.
Gonna find yourself stuffed into a garbage can somewhere in the campus.
Probably. I don't need that trauma.
Give you a swirly, pal.
Great. So I would say just total time per day is probably upwards to an hour at most.
Okay.
I have been using it every day.
And mostly workish stuff or entertainment stuff?
It's probably 50-50. Okay. So like this, a couple of weeks ago when I was working on the newsletter that I thought, this would be a good use case. Let me see if I could do the newsletter wearing this. And so I did. And so I was propped up in bed. And this is where I really kind of like it. And I wish that it was just a more comfortable way to do that. So in bed, I had Messages app off to the left, had a little widget app that showed the time and the battery life left, had my music app on top of that. And I think I sent you and Gannon screenshots of that. So those were kind of stacked up there to the left. I had notes in front on the left side. I had something on maybe Safari or Mind Map or something on the other side. But it's just nice to have that in such a large working environment.
Which I don't think the screenshots really...
They don't.
...show off. Yeah, it's not as clear how immersive and how spread out all that is. It's basically like it just looks like a picture of a bunch of windows on a screen.
And fuzzy at that because of the way they do the rendering. The screenshots aren't clear. And so it's like, man, that looks like trash.
Yeah.
And they do in the screenshots. Like it doesn't look that good, but in the headset it looks great.
Okay. So it's so creating the newsletter itself, how did that work out? I mean, again, you're typing a bunch of words, or were you dictating? I can't imagine, walking around with that thing on and dictating to it. It seems like it would drive everybody else in the room nuts.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't do that. And so I was typing. I was using the Magic Keyboard and trackpad and that bridge thing. That worked well. And there are things I do with that newsletter where I kind of capture ideas and stuff into a number spreadsheet throughout the month. And then so I had that up to pull some things out of it. And had written it in Bear, and then what I do is I transition to Grammarly to have it clean up my pitiful writing, and so that all worked great. Like I was going back and forth, copy paste, no issues there. I said there was no command tab, and if your windows are oriented where they're not stacked and you're not just trying to bring an app that's behind something forward, like what you could do with a command tab potentially. But if you're just working between apps that are kind of side by side, it's super quick to just kind of glance at it and do the little tap gesture.
Okay.
And it makes that app active. And if you look at it long enough too, it'll kind of say, hey, bring that one into focus. So that's
really?
switching it back and forth. Man, I've hit that thing a couple times. I need to stop. The switching back and forth
for this show
is actually very quick.
Okay.
And it's kind of a hybrid keyboard commands, gestures to go back and forth between the two. So that you kind of have to just experiment and see, like I did that. And I was like, well, I should just do that. That was really quick.
Have you linked your Mac to it yet and worked, with a Mac screen?
Yes.
And how does that play?
That, when it works, is pretty good.
When it works.
Yeah. And again, it's 1.0. And so I get a lot of input is temporarily not working or whatever the error message says. And so in some cases it's not working, and like you can't do anything on the Mac. Like the mouse doesn't move and keyboard shortcuts don't, the keyboard's not working. Sometimes you get that message and it still works. But it's very glitchy. And so there are times I've had to close it out, reconnect it. And then other times it's rock solid and it's good. The allure to that for me is, I've got a 27-inch display on my desk. It's hooked up to the Mac Mini, but I've got a cable there. I can easily connect the MacBook Pro to it. Mm-hmm. And the problem there, and it's not really a problem, but the thing is I've got to be at the desk.
Right.
Right. And I don't want to be at the desk all the time, especially, with the laptop. And so, working on the laptop, you're somewhat limited with the resolution and how much you can actually see in the window. And through the Mac Virtual Display and the Vision Pro, it greatly increases what you could see. And I put that in the newsletter too. And it's up on the website, tomfanderson.com, if anybody wants to look at it, just to see, because now I got a lot more room to work.
Okay.
It's clear enough. Like I wear contacts. So if I don't have my contacts in, it gets a little hard to see because the UI stuff is smaller, but it works well enough. Now, the thing that you can't do, like when you do the Mac Virtual Display, the internal display on the Mac shuts off. And so you just get the one display. And so some people haven't been really happy with that. So they're hoping that more support comes where you can have multiple displays. There are applications out. Multi-screen is one, and there's some other ones where you can do multiple screens. And I saw one
even allowed you to have multiple Macs, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I saw a video a guy did. He uses an application called Moonlight, and it's more for gaming and PCs. But what was nice with that is it had so many options for the displays. And so he was able to just go into the settings on that and actually set up a huge portrait-oriented display, so vertical display, not just a mirror basically of the Mac display. And so that was pretty cool. That would be nice, especially if you're a coder or something and you really want to be able to see more in that orientation.
Okay. I'm not expecting this, but any Apple Pencil support, or is there?
Not that I've seen.
Not at this point in time. Yeah, that doesn't. I mean, it would be interesting. I could see that with like a Wacom tablet or something like that, where you're doing that kind of work where. That makes a lot of sense. No, you're not a big gamer, but any games? Have you done anything like that?
Not one.
Not one.
Not one.
Right. Movies?
Movies, yes. I have. So if you go into your collection, some of the ones that you have, if they're available, that you do get the 3D version, which I didn't like that. That looked kind of gimmicky. It didn't look natural to me. It may have just been the way it was produced, because some people have said others, some of those are better than others. I've been watching it's an Apple TV Plus show, The Dynasty. It's about the New England Patriots.
Oh, interesting.
And I think they're still putting them out, so it's relatively new. They haven't released all the episodes yet. And it's really good if you're into the football, especially if you're a Patriots fan. I'm not, but if you are, you would love it. And I'm just, into sports, but it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, that with Tom Brady and everything that happened with Drew Bledsoe leading up to Brady, kind of taking over, and the rest is history, as they say.
Oh, interesting.
But behind the scenes stuff, the guys are cussing a lot and telling jokes, and it's pretty fun.
Is it relatively immersive? Like, can you do that?
Yep.
So you're okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that set up for you to be able to kind of look around and see, other people in the room, or is it not that kind of immersive yet?
Yeah. So when you go into when you're watching the Apple TV shows, it comes up in kind of just a window.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see the room and everything around you. But when you look up into the upper left, they've got a button there that's for the immersive stuff. And you can either watch it in an immersive scene, which one of the ones they've provided. So either Joshua Tree or Mount Hood or something like that. Or you can do the cinema mode, which puts you in a theater.
Wow.
And so it kind of just darkens the room, fully in the headset. You've got textures up on the wall. You've got like carpet on the floor. And it's cool, the effects in it, because those environments in there, like the ceiling and floor, the color of the light changes, with the actual video you're watching. So it is like you're there. What I like about that one too is you have some options to choose where you sit. And so you can choose, front row and lower section, middle row, back row, and then they've got balcony where you can do the same thing. So you can, if you don't want to be super up front, you can bring it back, and it looks just like it would, which is kind of nice. I did watch a little bit of IMAX stuff. They've got a couple free things in there, and that was a pretty good experience too. The biggest drawback I've seen with some of the immersive stuff when it's like in a completely dark environment is the glare from the lenses.
Okay.
And some people were like, "Yeah, that's what it looks like for me all the time. I wear glasses," and I was like, "Oof." And so,
yeah.
And it's there. It can be a little annoying. I think if you watched enough of it, you just get used to it. But it depends how particular you are about that sort of thing, I think.
So there was some talk, and we'll have a link to this in the show notes. I just want to point out that I can't remember, but I think it's Chinese or Korean at the first part of this article, but it's also in English down in the second part. There was a lot of talk initially that people were returning these things in droves. The reality is not exactly that. It's about a 1% apparently return on the Apple Vision Pro, which is pretty interesting, I think. It says more people are keeping them. I have no idea how many they've actually sold altogether. There are no numbers on that I'm aware of. But if only 1% of people are returning the Vision Pros, that's interesting to me. That again, I'm not in the market. I'm not the guy that's going to be buying one of these. So that's I don't know. But the fact that you determined that you're going to keep it when initially you thought you were going to return it, or maybe you didn't, maybe that was what you were conveying, but the reality was you really wanted to do it. What I'm curious about is, so, you've got two boys in the house and a wife in the house, and you've got the goggles on.
Yep.
Beer goggles, maybe, without the beer. How is that playing? Have you checked in with them to see? I know your boys have been, they've been playing with it and enjoying it. But how is it to be on the other side in the house, on the not goggled side? Yeah.
So when I first got it, I was communicated to them quite a bit about it. Like I wanted to let them know that, and 90+% of the time, like I'm not in those fully immersive environments. Probably close to 98%. I do it more just to, oh, that's cool, and then I dip out of it. And so I think that's where the pass through kind of comes in. And I can see them walking around. So, and I don't use it that long during the day. And if they come in to talk to me, if it's more than just, hey, can I go to, so-and-so's house? And it's a quick answer, but if it's, I'll leave it on. But if it's more than that, I just take it off.
Right.
So I think it's been fine. I think it's different because my kids are teenagers, and so they don't require a lot of attention in terms of making sure they don't
want any.
They don't want any either.
Yeah.
And so make sure they're not falling into things or eating Tide Pods or something like that. So I don't feel like I'm being too irresponsible even with it on. But like I say, I see everything. They come in, I talk to them, say hello, just like I normally would.
Right.
And we haven't really changed too much about it. I asked my wife, I was like, does this weird you out with this? She goes, well, you look stupid, but it doesn't bother me, and I'm glad you enjoy it. I mean,
Question is, was she saying that before the goggles were on?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, you've seen the show artwork.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did look at her once with the eyes showing, and I was like, so is my sleepy lenticular eyes doing the trick? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. It was worth a shot.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about that, by the way.
Yeah, she didn't either.
if you keep the goggles on.
No, God, no. Jesus. That's terrible. And it's funny, like I kept it. I'm still skeptical that these things are ever going to be like more than a niche thing, but I'm a dork. I'm a nerd.
Yes.
We both are. And
yes.
It's one of those things where it's like, she said, you don't really buy yourself much. So live a little. And so it's more just to kind of see where it goes, use it when I want to use it. I still am very skeptical of the whole idea. I do think that if they could get it to half the weight, I think it would be more tolerable, and I'd probably use it more. And I think more people would be apt to use it for things in certain situations. Like I really do like that spatial computing setup of being able to put windows wherever you want them. And other people have commented after you do that and you come back to your laptop or even your 27-inch display, it feels very cramped and definitely very antiquated. And it's like, why am I stuck with just these, this little bit of space to work in? So I do really like that. And I think, is that something where we'd ever get to be able to do the majority of the time without looking ridiculous or being socially awkward? I think is the struggle there. But it is nice. It's something that I think Apple's working on probably for an update. The downside is if you go putting all of these windows around, is if you shut off the unit, all of those placements get lost. Like it doesn't save those. Really? And I think that's just a 1.0 thing.
Yeah, gotta be. Because I mean, that's kind of built into Mac OS. It's not often working the way you want it to with more than one screen connected, but that is the
so once they get that, I mean, I think, which they will, I can't imagine that they're not probably even close to that. I think that it won't be too long before that comes out. Then I think that gets a little bit better because it does take a little bit of, I need to realign all these windows again, which is no different than when sometimes you plug your Mac into your external display or you reboot and stuff flies everywhere, but which now makes me think maybe they won't ever get it right. It's hard to say. So again, it's neat. Is it super expensive? Yes. Should somebody buy one? Only if you're interested in being on the ground floor of this kind of stuff and just, like to tinker and explore. And if you live by yourself,
which you might be after this.
Right? I might. Yeah, it's true. I hope not. But like if you're by yourself, you don't have to worry too much about, kids keep tabs on or things like that. I think that is a different situation. I think if you're on the road a lot, like for work and you're in a hotel and you've just got a 13-inch laptop maybe that you have, and you don't want, crappy TV in the hotel, I think that's a game changer. Is it worth, $3,500, $4,000? That's up to each person to decide.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Tom, thanks for spending that money so we could enjoying that vicariously. And we'll continue to check in. Obviously, Apple's going to be updating the Vision OS software. Actually, there's one supposedly coming out pretty shortly that should make some changes to some things. So it'll be interesting to hear how much more or how much less you're using this over the next couple of months. So we'll check in again. But I really appreciate you sharing your experience. And I think that's us, Tom.
It is. Another half hour gone, just like that.
We burn 30 minutes like some people burn $100 bills.
Yeah, like me burning cash on this silly thing.
All righty. Well, thanks very much. We already told you about the music, about feedback at basicafshow.com, so we don't need to dance that little dance anymore. And
that's it.
It's good to see you, man.
All right, you too, buddy. And everyone listening, thank you. We do appreciate you bearing with us and joining us each week and spreading the word, which has been fabulous. And we do appreciate that very much. So thanks again. We will talk to you in a few weeks. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your night.
See ya.